negotiated your salary in your first job?
Yes.
Yes.
Why not?
Hi, I'm Firuza Chisamadovasha. I'm the host of Be Frank podcast, and a podcast about careers, entrepreneurship, and other important matters. Today we have Ashley Law. Ashley, for those who don't know you, tell us who you are and what you do.
Hi, I'm Ashley. I founded an architectural and creative property development studio called Flawk. It's my little baby. And in addition, we also have an online magazine highlighting the stories of up-and-coming designers, makers. Yeah, so all fun stuff.
Ashley, what drove your career? Like, how did you end up building Flawk?
It was kind of unorthodox, so it kind of happened a little bit accidentally. I did architecture in my undergrad. Quickly realized architects are very underpaid and overworked.
True.
So I was very interested in the sustainability side, so I went on to do my master's in sustainable development. Then worked in like energy strategies for nonprofits as well as sustainability strategies for fintech. But yeah, when I was working for the fintech company, my partner and I at the time, we were looking to buy a home together. So it made much more sense to buy something that was much cheaper. I had the skills to design the renovation. So that's kind of how Flock started. It was unorthodox, but I loved the process. And I was like, oh, how can I make this my job? It took like 6 months to make it into a reality.
How did you actually decide to build Flawk? Like, what was the process between you wanting to, design your own house and to realize, oh, I want a brand, I want a company, I want to build this now?
So I've always been quite entrepreneurial. Like when I was 16, I started a company in Singapore. We used upcycled materials to make product lines and like sold products of lamps, of like little candle holders to like local theaters. There was something about having ownership about like what I'm doing that was really important. And even the fintech company I worked for was a startup unicorn, so I had a lot of responsibility. So it's kind of a trend throughout. Also, before architecture school, I wanted to be an oil painter. So like all of these elements, me being interested in like small businesses, all kind of accumulated into Flock. So when we renovated the house and then it was ready, like unfortunately my partner and I, we kind of went our separate ways, but it just meant that the way that makes most sense was to put it on the market because we shared the mortgage and things, and it sold within 2 weeks.
It's a gorgeous house.
So that gave me a little bit of like confidence that this is actually quite like it could be a job. I can find a way to really enjoy it as well as like still make a living out of it. So that was the starting point. And then a lot of what I really care about, which is like building a community, like giving back to the community of artists that really made me feel at home in London. All of these other elements and, how I design, I love details. These bits were what kind of formed the brand I created.
That's really cool. So do you see Flawk then slowly gave birth to Scora, that now you have your magazine and you get to show different artists and talk to different artists?
Yeah, I think that's something I really enjoyed. It really started in that house, my own home. Like my friends would give me housewarming gifts, like, oh, like 2 lights or like a shelf or all of these little furnishings for the homes were like gifts for my friends. So it ended up like being a gallery of these young artists on show within a home, and that idea was very inspiring for me. Like a lot of makers' works or artists' works are shown in the like white box, very traditional setting, even though it's like furniture that's meant to be for the home. So there's something about it being in situ in the space it's meant to be in that was quite interesting for me. So yeah, that kind of led to telling these stories further through Skira. And with what I do, brand identity is quite important for me. I'm trying to sell homes, which I create, and I want my homes to be known for their design. So I guess it was more of an unorthodox way to both market our ethos by having the magazine and going into homes of artists which are really inspirational, as well as allowing that to grow our following on Flawk, so it feeds each other, is quite like incorporated.
That's very cool. It's very inspiring. If I were now like 18-year-old, what type of skills then do you think would help me build a life as a designer or as an architect or someone that has their own company? Because you worked in so many different companies and now you have like so many aspects and dimensions of your work too. What type of transitional skills do you think like you brought from your learning?
There's a difference in like if you want to create your own business or if you like want to work for someone else. I think within your own business, something maybe that's super understated is being very sensitive to numbers and like the project management aspect, because people don't tell you the heavy lifting behind the scenes. Like you're like calling people 5 times a day to chase them to do a job, or like having things line up perfectly. So after one thing finished, the next thing, and if one thing is off, then it leads to like big delays, which you can't have. So all of these maybe ideas or ways of working, you do learn with working in a company. I think for me, especially like working in a startup, which was, you know, highly funded, you were quite exposed to the environment of like fundraising rounds and understanding how those works, like interactions with investors, as well as the other side of things. You had a lot of ownership of your work, so you're able to set out quite clearly your own goals. Like rather than having a manager telling me what to do, I had to like set out how I wanted to lay out the strategy and roll it out across many countries. So I think these like soft skills are so important in what you do, like starting your own business. And on the design side, of course, you have to find like your niche and your design identity or your design language that is quite recognizable at first look. And that takes time to develop, because if not, there are so many designers on the market and you don't want to just blend in. I think what makes it successful is if you can find something that only you can bring, then that's what people appreciate.
In this transition of finding your brand, your design style, or even who you are as the business owner or manager, what were the hardest things that you learned, like the lessons that shaped you but really challenged you at the time?
I started Flawk when I was 22. So I was, I was a real baby. And Asian genes, I guess, your skin, you look even younger. So I think maybe I looked like 15. Which in business sense is quite challenging because I don't want to be, this saying the stereotypical things, but at the same time, my own experience has been that it's been quite tough being a young woman who's not from, like, we live in London, not from London, trying to start a business who looks even younger than she is. So people immediately assume that you have no experience, and always there are like pitfalls in your way just so that they can take advantage of you and like your youth per se. So I think that has been like a big challenge, and the property industry is quite male, older male dominated. And also you have to reach out to investors, and those are also like usually people with more experience. So I think managing those relationships have been really important, and also your personal identity and how you like portray yourself to the world. I think like with my friends, I like to think I'm like silly, like fun, funny, but maybe like of course these elements can translate but not fully. I think for me it's helped to create like a little persona for when I'm in my work mode, like still me, feels like me, but still like in a way that people can take you seriously.
Yes, I definitely understand you, because I did work with, you know, engineers or facility managers, a quite male dominated industry, and I studied engineering too, so it takes learning to understand how you can present yourself to these environments while still being authentically you, but in the sense of like respectability there, to know that we are gonna have a serious business.
Yeah.
So what do you think that helped you unlock communications with them? Like, was it just being much more serious with them, or is it more just understanding how to coax the relationships? And yeah,
it's real practice, I'd say. Like when I first started, I'd even before a phone call, which was important, or speaking to the lawyers, I had a friend who was super supportive at the time. So we'd jump on a Zoom and we'd practice, like role play. And so I felt more confident in what I was. It sounds so silly now. Like, of course, like I had to practice even for a phone call or for any interactions. But it helped a lot. This book called Never Split the Difference. It's a book by, he used to be a FBI hostage negotiator.
oh,
So using, you know, you're negotiating for hostage to be released. It's the highest stakes negotiation you could be in. So he kind of translates how these skills can be used in day to day. And a big thing is the late night FM DJ voice, you know, the very soothing, calm, like you put your voice slightly lower, like very soothing tone.
Is that why all the Hollywood actresses speak like that now?
Probably. Maybe they all read this book. So, but there's some really good stuff in there, so I'd recommend.
I should read.
Yeah.
My last question before we move into the fun pop quiz part. What would be one trend you're seeing in, you know, architectural space or in design space, like recently?
Maybe it's not a trend, but I think more like the material usage. You see a lot more like aluminum, stainless steel usage. Maybe in the past you never consider stainless steel kitchen doors, but this is coming up, or home furniture, side tables. So like metal as a palette or material palette, it seems like it's having a resurgence, and I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I love metal. Yeah, but I think it's very important in that context to like balance it, because it's quite a cool tone material. Balance it with like wood or like plaster, polished plaster. Still being mindful of using it.
That's really cool. Is the sustainability gets a part of it as the considerations, or like durability with that material when you're designing? Do you look at it and like, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, this thing could be used for?
So my background's in sustainability as well. So our most recent home, for instance, is a super sustainable home. We've, instead of using concrete blocks, which is the typical building method here, we've used timber frame throughout. And like everything from the CO2 emissions, because concrete specifically in the building industry is a huge emitter, like worldwide. So just taking that out of the equation, it's really like more sustainable. As well as energy performance inside. So our buildings are super insulated. It means, you know, there's very little heat loss. You know, we have green roofs to help regulate temperature in summer. So just by having a green roof, you can reduce temperature by 2 degrees without having to use like any additional means like air conditioning or fan, for instance. So yeah, like these considerations are quite important to me. You might not see it in the Instagram photos, but it's something that we take a lot of time to like include and as a main ethos within our design.
That's really cool. Yeah, the young, cool brands are now incorporating and not even necessarily showcasing it, but it's part of the design and thinking process. Okay, now we have the pop quiz. I've prepared some questions from Redditors and some online forums, kind of ask most about startups or careers, and it's going to be rapid fire question type. It's going to be yes or no, would you rather, and pick one concept. And if you were to give more explanation any of them, you're free to do so. Ready?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Degree matters more than portfolio for your break in to the industry.
So I don't think your degree matters so much. It's just your portfolio. So even if, for instance, I started an architectural design studio without working in design like as my previous job before that, it's the ideas that matter. So if, for instance, you want to change careers, you were a lawyer but you have like great ideas and great design skills, and you like self-train and can show your like depth of skill and creativity within your portfolio, that speaks so much more than someone who's like architecturally graduated but really works by the book, for instance.
What about switching industries is harder than switching roles?
If you're switching roles, it could be switching industries too, based on the roles. I think in both senses, it takes a lot of dedication and discipline, that's the word, in order to self-train and retrain for a new industry or role. Because if you go into it unprepared, you cannot really expect much of the outcome. But yeah, I think you have to be prepared in both situations.
And the last one, the yes or no, is have you negotiated your salary in your first job?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, why not? I mean, like, you have like self-worth and self-respect. All companies want to pay you less, so they have less overheads. But if you can portray like how important, and like, I think it's really, at least when I was applying for jobs, I would apply with strategies that could improve what they're doing already. Like, I think if you believe in yourself and you have the self-confidence, then more than one employer will be wanting you on their team. And especially like the currency's ideas, like that's what they want. And if you can really make an impact, and for them impact is usually optimizing money in some way, or then negotiate, like you're worth more.
Yes. Business basics, yeah, if you know them, then you're valuable. Would you rather build a tiny niche you know or a big market you don't?
I think niche. Being general doesn't set you apart. I think when you're known for something you do and you do it really well, like people will come to you for that. But if you do everything, there are many people who do everything. It's harder to set yourself apart.
That's true. And I think this is applicable for every industry as well. Okay, now we are going to pick one.
Okay.
Hardest startup problem? Distribution, hiring, funding, or focus?
Funding, 100%. Without money, you're going nowhere.
True. Like your business is very capital tight as well.
Yeah, like so in the property development world, building costs a lot of money, especially in London. So yeah, financing has been so important.
Last question to you, Ashley. If you were to give an advice to your 18-year-old self, if you could talk to her, what advice would you give to her?
Like, persevere. It's been hard. It hasn't been easy. And at 18, like, I had big dreams about being an architect, but I was quickly disappointed in how the industry works, at least in the UK. So it was so important for me to make that pivot, but there were many tough days where I was questioning what I was doing and really not enjoying it, and that affected my health. So being able to persevere in those times and like trust that things will work out. Not like I'm not a faith person, like, oh, things will work out for you if you believe. No, but more like trust that you can make the right decisions and you have the tools to make the best decisions for yourself given the context at that point in time, and trust that those decisions will lead you to a place that you'll feel comfortable in.
Yeah. And because you found your passion, I guess, or you found the things that you like, that's why you just keep persevering.
Yeah.
Well, that's very nice, and I think it's applicable to everyone. Just keep it going, and you'll do it, and you'll get out of it wherever you are.
Because you make the right decisions for yourself, right? You know it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ashley, and thank you for listening to us. If you have any questions, please leave it below. and we will answer it in our socials in the future once we get them. Thank you. Have a nice day. I got awkward.